For over 70 years, people laughed at what the old Jewish grandmothers in the Eastern European villages did with their pots, vegetable peels, and animal fats. Modern food companies came along with shiny plastic packages and convinced 3 generations to throw away the golden chicken fat, peel every vegetable until it was stark white, and replace centuries of healing kitchen wisdom with factory-made bouillon cubes full of artificial chemicals. But my grandmother Leah and the women of our village knew things in their bones that took modern university laboratories and medical researchers half a century to finally prove. If you want a kitchen that restores your joints, heals your digestion, and fills your home with the deepest, most comforting aromas of real food, listen to what I am about to tell you. These 25 kitchen practices were never superstitions. They were pure survival science passed from mother to daughter across generations. Number 25 is leaving the paper-thin golden skins on every yellow onion when you drop them into your stock pot. Modern recipe books tell you to peel every onion clean until it looks like a white billiard ball, throwing the outer papery layers straight into the trash. In our village, we scrubbed the outside of the whole unpeeled onions under cold water with a coarse vegetable brush to remove any clinging garden soil, but we left every single layer of that golden brown paper skin intact. When that skin simmers in water alongside your beef bones and soup greens for 6 to 8 hours, 2 wonderful things happen. First, your broth turns the rich glowing color of dark amber honey without needing a single drop of artificial yellow food coloring or commercial browning sauce. Second, modern laboratory studies now confirm that onion skins contain the highest concentration of quercetin found anywhere in the plant kingdom. Quercetin is a powerful plant flavonoid that stabilizes mast cells, calms systemic inflammation, and supports healthy blood vessel walls. Bubbe did not have a chemistry degree, but she knew that a pot brewed with unpeeled golden onions kept her children strong through bitter Polish winters. Number 24 is saving every single chicken foot from the butcher and scrubbing them clean for the soup pot. Modern shoppers in plastic-wrapped supermarkets turn their noses up at chicken feet, but in the Shtetl, our butchers never threw a single one away. When you blanch chicken feet in boiling water for 2 minutes, peel off the outer yellow scaly membrane, trim the tiny nail tips with kitchen shears, and let 4 or 5 feet simmer very slowly with your soup chicken and knuckle bones, the water transforms into pure liquid gold. The small joints, cartilage pads, and delicate tendons in the feet melt down entirely into bioavailable collagen and natural gelatin. When that broth cools down in your icebox overnight, it will not remain a liquid. It sets so thick and firm that you can turn the glass jar upside down and slice it cleanly with a butter knife. That gelatin coats irritated stomach linings, soothes digestive inflammation, and delivers the exact structural building blocks your knees and hips need every single morning. Number 23 is salting sliced raw eggplant heavily and letting it weep in a colander under a heavy plate for 45 minutes before it ever touches a hot pan. Young cooks today slice an eggplant and toss it straight into hot oil, only to wonder why the vegetable acts like an industrial sponge, soaking up 2 cups of grease and leaving a sharp, bitter aftertaste on the tongue. In the old country, we sliced the dark purple globes into thick rounds, rubbed coarse kosher salt generously across every cut surface, and set them in a colander weighted down with a heavy stoneware plate. A dark, bitter brown liquid drips out the bottom into the sink. That brown water carries away the solanine and astringent alkaloids that irritate sensitive stomachs and cause indigestion. Once you press the slices dry between clean linen towels, the cellular structure collapses slightly. When you lay those dried slices into a hot skillet of rendered poultry fat, they crisp into sweet, creamy perfection on the outside while absorbing almost no excess oil. Number 22 is fermenting raw beet roots in cold salted well water to make sour, dark crimson beet kvass. Long before modern health food stores started selling expensive probiotic shots in tiny glass bottles, every home in our village had a heavy stoneware crock sitting in a dark pantry corner. In October, after the root harvest, we scrubbed fresh garden beets, chopped them into thick rustic chunks with their skins on, and packed them into the crock with cold filtered water. A tablespoon of coarse sea salt, 2 smashed cloves of garlic, and a sprig of fresh dill. We tied a clean piece of porous linen over the top and let the wild yeasts and lactobacillus bacteria do their quiet work for 7 days. The liquid bubbles gently and turns as thick and deep red as velvet. Drinking half a glass of sour beet kvass before your heaviest meal of the day stimulates gastric acid production, supports healthy liver bile flow, and introduces billions of living beneficial bacteria to your digestive tract. Number 21 is cooking and frying exclusively with properly rendered chicken fat, which we call schmaltz, instead of industrial yellow seed oils. For the past 50 years, chemical companies convinced families that butter and poultry fat were dangerous, replacing them with highly processed soybean, corn, and cottonseed oils, extracted with toxic chemical solvents. Now medical science admits those unstable seed oils oxidize when heated, creating inflammatory compounds throughout human tissue. When our grandmothers slowly melted chicken skin and pure fat tissues in a heavy cast iron pot with sliced yellow onions over low embers, they produced a stable, fragrant cooking fat, rich in monounsaturated oleic acid, the very same healthy fat found in extra virgin olive oil. Schmaltz has a high smoke point, gives roasted potatoes a shattering golden crunch, and carries fat-soluble vitamins A, D, and K directly into your cells. Number 20 is the winter remedy of whole crushed garlic cloves steeped in raw, unheated honey. When the November frost began to gather on the window panes, Bubbe peeled 3 entire heads of plump garlic, crushed each clove with the flat steel side of her heavy kitchen knife to rupture the cell walls, and dropped them into a jar of raw local summer honey. Within 3 days, the natural juices from the garlic thin the honey into a pourable syrup. Crushing the garlic activates the enzyme alliinase, creating allicin, one of nature's most potent antimicrobial and antiviral compounds. Raw honey provides living enzymes and soothing antimicrobial propolis. If anyone in the house woke up with a scratchy throat, a stubborn winter cough, or a feeling of heavy congestion in the chest, they took 1 spoonful of that garlic-infused honey before bed. It never failed to soothe the throat and clear the airways by morning. Number 19 is soaking all dried beans, whole grains, and lentils overnight in warm water with a splash of sour whey or lemon juice. Modern canned beans often cause sharp intestinal gas, painful bloating, and poor mineral absorption because the protective outer shell of the seed contains high amounts of phytic acid and natural enzyme inhibitors that block your body from absorbing nutrition. Our mothers never rushed a pot of beans. They placed dried navy beans, split peas, or whole buckwheat groats in a bowl on Thursday evening, covered them with warm water, added a spoonful of sour whey from homemade pot cheese, and set the bowl near the warm brick stove for 12 to 16 hours. The gentle lactic acid activates phytase enzymes that break down the hard seed coatings, unlocking the zinc, magnesium, and iron, while making the legume completely gentle on the most delicate digestive tract. Number 18 is adding 2 tablespoons of raw apple cider vinegar to your cold soup pot 30 minutes before you light the fire. When you place beef marrow bones, veal knuckles, and chicken carcasses into your stock pot, do not turn the burner on immediately. Pour cold water over the bones. Add a small splash of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar and let the pot sit cold and quiet on the counter for half an hour. The mild natural acetic acid gently softens the hard outer mineral matrix of the bones, drawing the calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and trace minerals directly into the water. By the time your pot slowly rises to a gentle simmer, those precious minerals are already dissolving into the broth where your body can absorb them easily without straining your digestive organs. Number 17 is leaving the thick golden fat cap intact on top of your refrigerated soup until the exact moment you are ready to ladle it out. Many modern cooks strain their warm chicken broth into glass jars and immediately scrape off every drop of yellow fat with a metal spoon before putting it into the refrigerator. That is a serious mistake. When rich, gelatinous homemade broth cools in the icebox, the rendered fat naturally rises to the top and hardens into an airtight, solid white and yellow protective seal. In the centuries before electric refrigeration existed, that fat cap functioned as a natural preservation barrier, preventing airborne molds, wild spores, and bacteria from touching the nutrient-rich broth underneath. It allows fresh homemade broth to keep perfectly in the cold for up to 2 weeks. Leave that natural seal undisturbed until the evening you heat the soup for supper. Number 16 is using rock-hard sourdough rye bread crusts to thicken dark beef gravies and stews instead of white processed flour or cornstarch. When a loaf of traditional sourdough rye bread went completely hard on the wooden pantry shelf, no thrifty grandmother ever considered throwing it away. She took the dry, dark crust, broke it into small chunks, and stirred them directly into the simmering beef braise during the final hour of cooking. As the sourdough rye softens in the hot meat juices, it dissolves into a glossy, velvety gravy with a subtle, complex sour tang that cuts through the richness of the beef. The naturally fermented rye flour contains prebiotic arabinoxylans that nourish the friendly bacteria in your lower colon while keeping the meal's blood sugar impact low and steady. Number 15 is grating fresh whole horseradish root by hand near an open window into cold water. When damp autumn weather brought stubborn chest colds and sinus pressure to the family, the women took long, rough roots of fresh horseradish from the cellar and grated them on the finest teeth of a tin box grater. The volatile allyl isothiocyanates and mustard oils that vaporize from freshly cut horseradish act as an instant, natural decongestant that opens blocked sinuses and clears congested bronchial passages within 30 seconds of breathing the aroma. Mixed with a little cold water and a splash of beet juice for color, fresh horseradish was served at every heavy meal to stimulate digestive bile, increase peripheral blood circulation to cold hands and feet, and destroy harmful bacterial pathogens in the throat. Number 14 is scrubbing and simmering whole parsnip and parsley roots along with your fresh garden soup greens. Many cooks today buy green curly parsley and discard the pale root, or they skip parsnips entirely because they think they are merely pale carrots with tough cores. In the Shtetl, the winter root cellar was our primary medicine chest. Parsnip and parsley roots contain potent volatile oils, apiol, and rich concentrations of natural potassium that act as gentle diuretics, assisting the kidneys in flushing out excess sodium and reducing fluid retention around swollen ankles and joints. In addition, their slow-releasing natural sugars impart a deep, woodsy sweetness to your broth that no commercial seasoning packet or powdered bouillon can ever match. Number 13 is fermenting whole cucumbers in a pure brine of well water, coarse sea salt, garlic cloves, and fresh oak leaves, with 0 distilled vinegar. The commercial pickles you buy in plastic containers at the supermarket are submerged in pasteurized white vinegar, refined sugar, and synthetic yellow food dyes. They are completely lifeless. Real traditional Jewish deli pickles are a living food. We packed small, freshly picked pickling cucumbers tightly into stoneware crocks with cold water, 3 tablespoons of coarse salt per quart, whole peeled garlic cloves, dried dill seed heads, and 2 fresh green oak or grape leaves. The natural tannins in the oak leaves prevent the vegetable pectins from breaking down, keeping every pickle snapping crisp for months, while the natural lactic acid fermentation creates billions of live gut-healing probiotics that restore the intestinal microbiome. Number 12 is seasoning, cleaning, and preserving heavy cast iron pans exclusively with natural animal fats rather than modern non-stick aerosol sprays. Modern non-stick frying pans coated with synthetic fluoropolymer chemicals begin to break down and release harmful fumes when heated over high flames. Our grandmothers cooked in heavy black cast iron skillets that had been handed down from their own great-grandmothers. After washing the warm pan with hot water and a stiff horsehair brush, they dried it over the stove embers and wiped a thin, shiny layer of warm schmaltz, or beef tallow, across the entire surface. Over decades of constant use, those animal fats polymerize under heat into a mirror-smooth, natural black glass seasoning that releases food effortlessly while transferring trace amounts of dietary iron into every stew and fried dish. Number 11 is steeping whole dried dill seeds in freshly boiled water as a soothing digestive tea after heavy holiday meals. When the family finished a rich, hearty dinner of brisket, roasted potatoes, and noodle kugel, Bubbe never reached for modern chemical antacid tablets. She crushed a heaping teaspoon of dried dill seeds in her wooden mortar, poured boiling water over them in a ceramic mug, covered the mug with a saucer for 10 minutes, and served the fragrant tea warm. The natural essential oils in dill seeds, particularly carvone and limonene, relax the smooth, muscular walls of the stomach and intestines, easing painful spasms, relieving bloating, and calming acid reflux naturally within 20 minutes. Number 10 is roasting whole, unpeeled heads of garlic wrapped in brown butcher paper in the gentle embers of the baking oven. While raw garlic can sometimes prove too pungent and harsh for older stomachs, roasting whole heads transforms the chemistry of the bulb entirely. When our mothers finished baking their weekly bread, they tucked whole heads of garlic with all their papery skins into the cooling corner of the brick oven. As the garlic roasts slowly, the sharp sulfur compounds convert into sweet, creamy inulin, an exceptional prebiotic fiber that feeds beneficial bifidobacteria in the gut. Squeezed from their papery husks like warm, savory butter, the soft cloves spread smoothly across dark rye bread, calming intestinal inflammation and supporting healthy arterial elasticity. Number 9 is grating a fresh, crisp, tart apple directly into your raw shredded potato latke batter to keep the potatoes from turning dark gray. When you shred raw starchy potatoes on a metal grater, the exposed starch oxidizes rapidly upon contact with the air, turning an unappetizing muddy gray color within minutes. Modern recipes instruct cooks to add chemical powders or lemon juice. Bubbe simply took half a tart green apple and grated it directly into the mixing bowl alongside the shredded potatoes and onions. The natural malic acid and vitamin C in the fresh apple juice completely arrest the oxidation process, keeping the batter bright and golden, while the fruit's natural pectin gives the potato pancakes an impossibly crisp, lacy edge when they sizzle in the hot skillet. Number 8 is slowly braising tough beef gristle, shank cuts, and tendons for 10 to 12 hours until the dense white tissue liquefies completely. In modern grocery stores, people pay exorbitant prices for lean, boneless meat cuts that provide very little nutritional depth, while overlooking the inexpensive marrow shanks and neck cuts. In our kitchen, the tougher cuts were the most treasured. Beef shank containing a thick central ring of rich marrow and dense connective bands was browned deeply in cast iron and simmered with onions, carrots, and water throughout the entire night. The tough structural collagen breaks down entirely into bioavailable glycine and proline, two essential amino acids responsible for rebuilding human joint cartilage, improving deep sleep quality, and repairing the structural integrity of the intestinal wall. Number 7 is maintaining a living, bubbling wild sourdough starter on the pantry shelf fed exclusively with whole rye flour and clean well water. Commercial baker's yeast was developed in modern factories to force dough to rise in under an hour. But this rapid rise leaves complex gluten proteins and cereal starches largely unfermented, contributing to widespread modern digestive discomfort and grain sensitivities. Our grandmothers kept a single sourdough crock active for 40 or 50 years. The wild yeasts and beneficial lactic acid bacteria in that starter slowly digest the gluten proteins and neutralize phytic acid across a slow 16-hour fermentation. The resulting dense, hearty sourdough bread is remarkably easy on the stomach, stays fresh for 2 weeks without chemical preservatives, and provides steady, slow-burning energy throughout the day. Number 6 is reviving dry, rock-hard braided challah bread by steaming it over the hot chicken soup pot instead of throwing it into the waste bin. In our culture, wasting bread was considered an unpardonable sin against the household. If Sunday morning came and half a loaf of Friday night challah was dry as a timber shingle, Bubbe never threw it to the birds. She placed a metal colander over her gently simmering chicken soup pot, laid the thick slices of dry bread inside, and covered it with a damp linen tea towel for 3 minutes. The fragrant herbal steam rising from the soup penetrates the dry crumb, restoring the bread to pillowy, warm tenderness while infusing it with the subtle essence of dill and poultry, ready to be spread with sweet butter or dipped into soft-boiled eggs. Number 5 is gently simmering fermented sauerkraut with caraway seeds and a diced tart apple for 40 minutes before serving it alongside roasted meats. While raw sauerkraut is exceptional for providing live probiotics, eating large quantities of cold raw cabbage alongside heavy, rich animal fats can sometimes cause gas and bloating in older digestive systems. Our mothers always simmered the raw kraut very gently with a spoonful of whole caraway seeds, a diced apple, and a spoonful of rendered schmaltz. Caraway seeds contain natural carminative volatile oils that soothe intestinal cramping and accelerate fat digestion, while the cooked sauerkraut provides gentle organic acids that assist the stomach in breaking down dense proteins effortlessly. Number 4 is using coarse koshering flake salt to dry brine whole poultry on a wire rack in the cold larder for 12 hours before roasting. If you toss an unseasoned, moist chicken directly into a hot roasting pan, the skin becomes soggy and rubbery, while the breast meat dries out long before the dark thigh meat is cooked through. Our grandmothers rubbed coarse, flat crystal salt thoroughly over the entire bird, inside the cavity and beneath the skin, leaving it uncovered in the coldest corner of the pantry overnight. The coarse salt draws surface moisture out through osmosis, dissolves into a concentrated natural brine, and is gradually drawn back deep into the muscle fibers, tenderizing the protein structure. When that bird enters the hot oven, the skin roasts as thin and crisp as dry parchment, while every morsel of meat stays succulent and juicy. Number 3 is drinking 2 tablespoons of warm water mixed with raw, cloudy cucumber pickle brine first thing upon waking in the morning. Before tea, before coffee, the elders in our village walked to the stoneware crock and scooped a small ceramic cup of cloudy, garlicky brine straight from the fermented pickle barrel. That cloudy liquid is brimming with live probiotic bacteria, natural sodium, potassium, and bioavailable magnesium. It gently stimulates the liver to produce fresh bile, awakens a sluggish digestive system, and replenishes essential cellular electrolytes after a long night of rest, keeping the mind sharp, the muscles relaxed, and the joints supple without needing artificial energy drinks. Number 2 is the sacred long overnight slow simmering technique of the Shabbat hot pot, cooked for 18 hours at temperatures below the boiling point. On Friday afternoon before sundown, the women assembled massive earthenware and cast iron pots layered with beef flanken, marrow bones, whole pearl barley, dried white beans, sweet onions, and whole potatoes, covering the ingredients with water and sliding the heavy pot into the communal brick oven as the main wood fire was damped down for the Sabbath. For 18 uninterrupted hours, the pot sits in a gentle, steady heat of approximately 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The liquid never boils or violently agitates the food. That unhurried warmth slowly melts every tough tendon, softens every bean into velvet, and melds the ingredients into a deeply nourishing stew that warms the human body to its very core during the coldest days of winter. And number 1, the most remarkable secret of all, is preserving whole, unwashed farm eggs in dry, coarse salt or clean sifted hardwood ash in wooden crates to keep them fresh through the winter. In the old days, laying hens naturally stopped producing eggs when the winter snows fell and the daylight hours grew short. Our mothers never washed the protective natural bloom off freshly collected eggs. They packed the unwashed eggs pointed end down into wooden boxes, filled with dry salt or sifted wood ash, ensuring that no egg touched its neighbor. Stored in a cold root cellar, those eggs remained fresh, rich, and creamy for up to 6 full months without modern refrigeration, providing our families with high-quality protein, essential choline, and healthy fats when the fields outside were buried in 3 feet of frozen snow. My dear friends, these 25 kitchen practices were born from deep necessity, preserved through generational love, and proven by centuries of healthy, resilient families. You do not need expensive modern gadgets, synthetic non-stick coatings, or processed food packets to build a strong, nourished body. You only need a heavy pot, simple whole ingredients, and the patience to let real food cook the way nature and our ancestors intended. May your kitchen always be filled with the rich warmth of golden broth, the sweet aroma of baking bread, and the enduring strength of heritage cooking. Be well, cook with love, and take good care of your home.